Few hundred years ago, we were at a time where we didn't know that the earth was round. And we didn't have all the areas of the world explored, not much at all. And the sea, the ocean, was just this mystery to us. We didn't know how far it stretched, if it had an end, and what happens if you get to an end. There were maps drawn out, and they had all these speculations where there's this end to the map or this end to the ocean where everything would just fall off like this enormous waterfall at the end of the map. It'd just be a cliff that would just fall off into the abyss. And therefore, it was a time where there's a lot of mystery and we didn't know what exactly went on. And there's speculation about serpents and scorpions and all sorts of enormous monsters that lived in the oceans of this time. And I think a lot of people get very arrogant currently. They think that they're so much smarter and more intelligent, and I think they think that the human race can do no wrong and they're so intelligent. But we are very similar to how we are back then. Because back then we didn't know, well, what happens if we go off into distance and we keep sailing? Is there an end to this ocean? And if there is an end, what happens? Is there just abyss? Well, what does that mean? Is there just blackness from then on out after the end to the ocean? Well, what happens in this abyss? Is it just darkness that goes on infinitely? Or is there an ocean that goes on infinitely? And how is that even possible? The ocean technically does stretch out infinitely because it keeps going and then it comes back and then hits the start again. And then we get this globe effect, which was only sort of found through extensive exploration and documentation. Now we have outer space outside of that, and it's a very interesting thing because outer space is oftentimes quite the same thing. What's out there? It's just blackness. We know that there's planets in orbit around the sun, which consists of a star system, and then there's billions of star systems, trillions in our galaxy, and then there's trillions of galaxies. But then all these galaxies that comprise of the universe, what's outside of that? Does that stretch infinitely? Is there really something outside of it? And yet then there's that paradox of how can something be finite? Because there always has to be something outside of that. It wouldn't make sense. And then there's that thing about how can anything be infinite either? That just wouldn't make sense either. It just stretches out completely and keeps going. And then there's all sorts of theories about warps in time and space that allow for these things to occur where there is a potential infiniteness, and then there's a potential stretching of the universe that keeps moving it out, and then there's a finiteness. I think it's very interesting, and it all sort of points back to the same thing. We are still gifted, I guess, with this endless exploration that I think we'll never fully experience. I don't think we'll even get outside of our own galaxy if we ever survive as a human race to develop the technology to ever do such a thing. That would really require discovery of some level of infinite sustainable energy and mind-blowing technology, but we probably won't get out of our own galaxy in the next 100,000 years. And then there's all these things about, like, well, what's out there, what's going on, like, and then there are all these examples of time, space, and then all our projections are based off what we can surmise from what we can observe from Earth. And so the problem with that is, well, this is our projections on how big the universe is based on what we can see. But what if it's so much larger than that? More than the trillions of galaxies housing trillions of star systems. It can be so large, and our projections are only based on what we can observably see. And what if it's such a large, infinite thing that keeps going and going, And there's so many more things out there that are even more bizarre and ridiculous that we can't even fathom. And it gets even crazier. Stay tuned for my video on aliens. And probabilistically, I'll go through how it's more than likely that there is extraterrestrial life. And if there is, then there's highly a chance that there's probably advanced life way less developed than us, and advanced life hundreds of thousands of years more advanced than us, and can do ridiculous things beyond our imaginations, and probably don't want to even associate with us because we're considered like heathens to them. And yeah, that's all we want to say. Thanks for watching.